seem to run into this type of person a lot, and I'm sure other dog trainers do too, and that's the person that is convinced that the dog has been abused. It's like always worst case scenario with these people. A lot of times you see these people, they are affiliated with animal shelters, and they always make up these stories in their head about the dog being abused. Sometimes it's the owner that adopts the dog. They create these stories in their head, and they're not true. And the reason why I know this is that if you look at dogs that we know have been with the owner their whole life and they haven't been abused, they respond just as shitty as the dog that, comes into the animal shelter with no kind of background. You don't know what you're talking about. Most of the time it's just neglect. And neglect, yes, neglect could be considered abuse. It definitely, because it's rampant in this country. If you don't train the dog, it responds instinctually. So if you're not going to train it, that is neglect, and you shouldn't own the dog. So most of these dogs that we see, you don't know what the history is of the dog. You're just making shit up. And they just respond instinctually like a dog that hasn't been trained. It's not always, that the dog's been beat, It's not. And if you have a dog like even that has a fear response in it, that more than likely was the overly loving owner, trying to coddle the dog when it had a fear response. Like it's a young puppy and it gets fearful, and then they're, oh, are you okay? And they fucking create a mess. And then the dog ends up in the animal shelter. I'll tell you who the worst offenders are these people that, that have dogs that won't train them, that think of them as human, anthropomorphically, as little morphed human beings, and talk to the dog like it's a human. Those are the abusers. Also, the people that are affiliated with animal shelters that talk to the dogs like this, talk in a human way, trying to console the dog. Those are the true abusers, If you want to sit here and say that the dog has clearly been abused, it's probably been abused by you and your kindness. You're killing the dog with kindness is what you're doing.